On the very first page of Vice President Kamala Harris's dramatic and compelling book, 107 Days, she mentions food 4 times. I often say that I look at life and art through the lens of food, and I think this is one of the many things she and I share. We met at a wedding last summer, drinking our pre-dinner cocktails. She turned to me and said, "Ruthie, you know what I'd really like to do? I'd like to meet the chefs." Walking in with her to the kitchen was something I will always remember. Everyone put down their knives, their pots, their pans, amazed at seeing her there. She spoke seriously about cooking, praising them for delicious food, asking them genuine and respectful questions. I'm often asked who would be my dream guest on Ruthie's Table 4. Well, she's sitting right next to me here in the River Cafe.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay,
Thank you.
True. Well, would you like to tell everybody what you had for breakfast when you came to the River Cafe this morning?
I had the most exquisite breakfast. A beautiful slice of home-baked bread that was toasted just to perfection with burrata, just a nice slice that was melting and just kind of just being. And then the most exquisite slices of cured anchovy with slices on the side of heirloom tomato.
Yep.
I was in heaven. I was in heaven.
You're here in London, and you're here for
my book tour.
First of all, thank you for writing this book. I think that the way that you did this with the diary, with the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs and the excitement and it takes you. I really urge everyone to read this because it's knowledge. It's know, and as you say, for young people who want to, go into this world and understand more. I think it's a textbook as well.
I wrote the book in a way that I was very honest and forthright and candid. Yeah. And I, not in the interest of shocking anyone, but just being factual. I think there's so much about all these processes, but in particular running for president, where it's very opaque. And unless you're in the inside as a part of it, you can't really see or understand all the nuance and variables that are at play. So I decided to write the book to really give people a behind-the-scenes look. In fact, like the tour of your kitchen just now.
I would say people always want to know, how does the sea bass come out at the same time as the lamb? How does
it all work?
You see the process, but I don't know how a campaign works. I don't know how you produce a television show. I don't know how the taxi driver knows how to get from A. It's a process we all want to know. And that's what I love. And the choreography.
Right? Yeah. And the choreography, which is, and the other reason I wrote the book is, those 107 days are a part of American's history. And it was very important to me that my voice is present in the way that history tells the story of those days. Think about it. It was unprecedented, Ruthie. We had a sitting president of the United States running for re-election. He decides to drop out 3.5 months before the election. The sitting vice president takes up the mantle against a former president who had been running for 10 years. With 107 days to go. And so I wrote the book stylistically like a journal. Most of the 107 days are chapters, each of them a chapter, based on the extraordinary experience that I had meeting people around the country who expect and want to be seen and heard, whose stories must be known and told. And, then all of the palace intrigue that is a part of politics and all of that. Part of what I've been doing in the tour is people write me from all over the world. And I've been pulling out letters from the various cities where we're in the book tour of people who live in that place and inviting them
Wow.
to come on my friends and family list.
Yeah.
And it's been really great because these are people with no expectation of, I mean, half the time they'll write, I'm sure you're never going to read this, but I do. And one of those individuals, a young man, what he said to me about the book, which was very helpful to me, he said, you know, he followed the election very closely, those 107 days, and he said he needed closure. And the book, going through it, the intensity of each day, helped him process it in a way that gives him, and I hope that this is part of my intention, gives anyone who reads it an ability to be reminded of the light that everyone has and that no election can take away. That sense of optimism and, dare I say, joy that we each have. And we can't forget it, even though we are seeing so much that is, I mean, you know, the words can go on and on about how awful it is. But in the midst of this darkness of this moment, I hope that reading the book also reminds people of the light that they carry, that cannot be dampened or diminished by any one person or election.
I was going to ask you how being on a book tour feels different to you from being on a campaign. When you stop off in a city, as you did in this book, and describe what it was like to arrive in a town and do, an event, a speech, a rally, whatever,
rallies,
what a
and
rally,
and
the difference between going to the festival hall or to Birmingham, Alabama, and talking about now when you're not campaigning. What is that like?
Well, part of what I'm enjoying about this moment is because I'm also I'm out doing meetings with groups of people in the cities where I'm doing the book tour.
Yeah.
And what I'm enjoying about it is I am there not to talk, but to listen. That's why I'm convening these groups. A lot of them are under the age of 40, because I also think that if we're thinking about how we are going to understand and articulate the stakes of this moment, we have to be intentional about seeing it through the eyes of people who are going to be living with this for decades to come. Yeah. And so what I'm enjoying about it is that, unlike the campaign, I also have the luxury of being able to sit down with people. I think they know that if they're invited to come, it's going to be a real conversation and a safe place. Yeah. And people are talking about their fears and their hopes and their frustrations, their anger, their joy. And that, I mean, Ruthie, that's been so helpful to me, because I just feel right now we're all carrying an incredible amount of distrust. Yeah. And we have to work on the relationships of trust, and also understand that the nature of the relationship of trust is that it's reciprocal. You give and you receive trust. And I think that's some of the deep and important work that we all have to do. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about Denmark,
Yes,
and we were talking about the happiness factor, and in the study. It was actually a conversation about a woman who a Danish woman who came to New York and left her baby outside the cafe, and she could see the pram, and she was arrested because you want to protect a baby being left outside. But from her town in Denmark, she described that that's kind of what you do. You trust somebody not to take your baby, but you also trust education to provide good school lunches. You trust an immigrant
healthcare
coming
system
to your country to be housed. You have a healthcare system. And do you think that trust has, in our country, in the United States, you finding that people not only not trust their neighbor, not to have a gun or to be there for them if they have an accident, but to trust government to take care of them?
Yeah, but I think that it's not a new phenomena.
Yeah.
For populations of people, and I'll speak for the American people, to have a healthy level of skepticism about whether the government is working in a way that works for them, the people, to be frustrated with the bureaucracy of government, with the politics.
Yeah.
That's not new. But I do think that, in particular, since the pandemic, we've seen it increase at a pretty significant level. I actually think that part of the challenge we have is we are not talking enough about the trauma that so many people experienced because of the pandemic. People lost family members to COVID. They lost their livelihood. Some people lost their homes. Small business owners lost their businesses. Our children lost significant phases of not only their education but socialization. And it was as though the rug got pulled out from under people. And whereas you thought that there were some basic things about the system, however you define it, that would always exist, the pandemic upended it all, and I think left people with a greater level of skepticism. And skepticism, I think, is a symptom of distrust. Yeah. And so some people then say, well, how is it that more people aren't taking to the streets about what we're seeing happen in the last 9 months? I mean, I think that there are many people who are feeling like, yeah, we know that the system doesn't always work for us, so why is anybody surprised now? And so if we're going to deal with the reality of where we are beyond that one election, I think this is part of the work we have to do, which is to encourage these difficult conversations about issues like trust. Yeah. And to address issues like trauma, to address, of course, issues that are about whether government is actually working for the people. And do we need to re-examine, especially in the aftermath that there will be of this current administration. And while then we are looking at a big pile of debris, maybe it's not about rebuilding. Maybe it's transformative, and it's not. And because I write about this in the book, I think that when that day comes, we cannot afford, and let us make sure we do not think about what to do in a way that is burdened by some nostalgia. To recreate a system that was flawed. And instead, let's have some honest conversations about what was not working, and then see the opportunity we might have to actually, and sadly, start from scratch with some stuff.
You grew up in a family of trust. Reading about your family, about your mother and your father and your grandmothers.
Yeah. Incredible people. I mean, I feel very blessed in terms of how I grew up, and in particular my childhood, because every signal, every message that was sent and that I received was, you are important, you are loved. I grew up in an environment where people told us we were special. We weren't particularly special, but we believed them.
You were special, and you should have believed them. But to be told that, we were saying this morning.
We can and should do more of that as a society in terms of the signals we send to the children, right? I grew up, and this is what I talked about at the convention, where I had a family by blood and I had a family by love. Yeah. Where my mother created a family that included people who were not blood relatives, but they were our family. Yeah. I mean, walking through your kitchen, I was reminded of my Uncle Freddie, who was not my uncle by blood, but he was my uncle in every way. He had a basement apartment in Harlem. He used to work with the Studio Museum in Harlem. And we'd go visit Uncle Freddie in his basement apartment in Harlem. And Uncle Freddie loved to cook. but his kitchen was maybe the size of this table.
Yeah.
And so Uncle Freddie would wash everything as soon as he used it.
Oh.
If he used a spoon,
Fish.
it get washed. It literally, because there was
That's cool.
no room.
Yeah. This is great. Would you like to go and tell the chefs
well,
that?
but no, so let me
That's a
tell
really
you, for
good
our kids,
idea.
'cause, I love to cook Sunday
Yeah, I
family
know.
dinner. It's like
I know.
non-negotiable.
We're gonna-
And the kids have now coined the term after dinner,
Uncle
let's
Freddie?
Uncle Freddie
Let's
this
Uncle Freddie
kitchen.
the kitchen. I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
But people like my Uncle Freddie, people like my Uncle Sherman, who taught us.
Was Uncle Sherman an uncle, or was he also not
He
an
was
uncle?
not an uncle by blood,
Okay,
but he
yeah,
was an
it's
uncle.
Okay.
And Uncle Sherman sat us down, my sister Maya and me, when we were like, I don't know, 6, 7. And he said, you guys are going to learn how to play chess. Because the chessboard is like life. And there are going to be many different pieces on the board that move differently. And they're all on the same board.
Wow.
And part of learning how to play chess is you will learn that you have to think about any step you take, the ramifications of it 3 steps out. This is the family that
was
raised
Uncle
me.
Sherman. He sounded.
Or they, both of them passed away.
Yeah.
I actually write about that in the book too. It's so many of them died far too young.
Far too young.
Yeah.
You also have kind of multicultural cooking family. So you had a mother from,
My mother from
Southern
India.
But Southern India
South India,
is
yeah.
very regional.
You're absolutely
now
right.
That there's a difference between
You're absolutely
Southern
right.
India and Northern India.
Huge
and Western.
difference in
So you
food
had
and culture.
Southern India.
Yeah.
You had Jamaica.
Yeah.
And you had later on your husband, right?
My
Doug.
husband, who was
And
Jewish,
but
and
growing
also
up-
my second mother, who was from Louisiana.
Yeah, the great.
And part of that whole migration of black folks from the South who went west and Midwest.
And that's a regional. I always say that in our country, the regional food is from the South. I mean, if you're in Vermont, you might have maple syrup, which you might not find in Idaho. But basically, it is kind of the same. But Southern cooking has such a regionality to it.
But see,
doesn't it?
here's one of the things I learned early on about the universality of it all through food.
Yeah.
Miss Shelton, who was our second mother,
The neighbor.
and my mother, both loved to cook okra.
Okra.
My mother would cook it with mustard seeds and turmeric.
Southern Indian.
Miss Shelton would cook it with dried shrimp and hot sausages and bell peppers and tomatoes. Yeah. And I have all those recipes.
And did you prefer one to the other?
I love them both.
You love them both. Did you make your own? How do you make okra? Do you do
You know what? Here's the thing I have to deal with is that my husband does not like what he calls slimy food.
Yeah, he doesn't like zucchini.
He doesn't like zucchini. He doesn't like eggplant. Although I've been starting to sneak it into moussaka.
You didn't know that moussaka had.
Well, if
there's one ingredient which is
eggplant is like
eggplant,
tricky.
yeah.
You have to cook it the right way, otherwise it will be rubbery.
You know,
right?
when I came to this country, I went into a greengrocer and I asked for eggplant. He brought me a dozen eggs. So if anybody's listening, we're talking eggplant and aubergine. So you had people who were passionate
All about food
and food identity.
And like my mother was she was a scientist. She loved to cook. She loved the chemistry of food. So, for example, and she was, unlike this guy in the White House, she understood that scientific research is obviously a passion that is about improving the human condition, that scientific research in its best is going to be peer-reviewed. It will be a collaborative effort among nations. So my mother, for example, had colleagues from all over the world. And I remember in particular the Brescianis
Who were they?
from Italy.
Oh, from Italy. Yeah, I should have guessed.
And Franco Bresciani and his kids, Marco and Paolo and Megan. And we used to go and visit with the Brescianis. And
I mean, you go to Italy?
No, we go to, they lived in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
And my mother would take my sister and me, and we'd go visit with them. And Tira, the mother, the wife, this long table where we would sit for hours and just course after course after course and conversation and passionate conversation and good arguments. And people would get up and walk away and come back for hours. So my mother, actually, she would cook with Tira. And my mother was a great Italian cook.
Was she?
In addition to South Indian food. She got on this kick for quite some time about us making Chinese food. Like we would sit on the floor and make bows.
Yeah. Incredible.
And then we would do wontons, and we would. So she loved cooking.
What was
and
the
loved
kitchen
food.
like in your house?
It was the center of all activity.
Yeah. Was it a big? Was it a big room?
It felt big to me.
Yeah.
It
And
wasn't
would you
particularly
eat in
big.
there?
We would eat in there.
Yeah.
And my mother said to me when I was young, you can tell the kids that like to eat good food, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mother said to me, I'll never forget, she said, you like to eat good food, you better learn how to cook.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Because you
people
can't-
ask me why didn't I start cooking? There's a point. Either if you don't have the money to go out to a
Yeah.
restaurant every night,
No.
and you want to eat well then you learn to cook.
I have an apron. I got it from a friend, and it says, I like to cook the food people like to eat.
Yeah, yeah. So when did you start cooking? When
I was
from
a
the
kid.
beginning? Yeah.
Well, I remember one of the first things that I would make, where we would wake up early, mommy's sleeping, and I would make scrambled eggs, and I'd make it into a circle on a plate, and then I would cut Monterey Jack or cheddar cheese to make a smiley face melted on top of the scrambled egg.
What age are we talking about? That's
Like
so sweet.
6, 7.
Yeah, and you bring it to your.
And I bring it to her. And here's the thing about
Yeah.
it. My mother did not like eating breakfast.
Yeah, right.
But she would always kind of,
thank you
it was
so
like,
much.
don't talk to
Yeah.
mommy before she's had her cup of
Yeah.
coffee, right? But
Tell me about a day in your house. Would you all have breakfast? How many were you in the house?
it was the three of us, my mother and my sister and
yeah.
me, because my parents divorced when I was 5. And it was usually my mother would start cooking like Saturday morning.
For the week?
For the week.
Oh, wow.
And I'd wake up kind of just smelling the food and just kind of just half asleep going into the kitchen. And that's the thing about cooking, right? It really is all the senses. It's literally all the senses. It includes the sense of sound.
Sound and
Right?
smell.
And of course, smell and sight and flavor and taste. It's all of those things.
Would she repeat? Did you know that Monday was lasagna and Tuesday was Chinese dumplings?
She would
or
never.
She would just make
was
the
not.
food?
She would sometimes she would because she worked.
Yeah,
She
I was gonna
worked
say, she-
long days.
she did
and
Saturdays
we always
because she had to work.
fresh baked cookies or a cake in the house.
Yeah.
She was phenomenal, and she loved to cook.
probably
though.
loved
so
it,
it was.
too.
She
Yeah.
loved to cook. And sometimes she would look at us and she'd say, "Okay, girls, tonight we are having smorgasbord." We get so damn excited about smorgasbord. Do you know what smorgasbord was?
That's sort of Danish buffet, isn't it?
Well-
Open sandwiches or something.
What it was
Or is it more?
what it was
I was just
growing up
anti-Danish. Yeah.
is that she would take cookie cutters and cut the bread into heart and flower shapes. She'd get those toothpicks with the little colors on them, and she'd put a little mayonnaise in a
Wow.
thing, mustard in a thing, and pull out all the leftovers.
Ah,
And we were having smorgasbord.
clever. Yeah.
All the leftovers. But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was
She
fun.
sounds amazing. So she was a scientist.
She was a breast cancer
mother.
researcher, and she
brought
actually
you
was
up with-
responsible for breakthroughs in
Was
breast
she?
cancer. Yeah.
So would you come home from school and would the cookies be there?
The cookies
you
would be
and the
there. We were
cakes?
so-called latchkid kids. But then Miss Shelton
Oh, yeah.
was 2 doors. And so if Mommy was working late, we would go and have dinner at Miss Shelton's.
And what would she
and-
cook?
Oh, everything from okra to, oh my God, she made the most incredible gumbo. That was on special occasions. She used to do a cabbage in a Dutch oven, a heavy bottomed pot, and she would just cook it down. and it was just so good.
It's that thing of sort of vegetables being cooked for. That's very Italian.
Yeah,
the
yes,
difference
yes,
between.
yes.
We always say that Italians,
No
the
il
French
dente.
blanch. We
Right.
don't blanch anything.
No, right.
We never blanch. You sort of cook it, and then it absorbs the olive oil, and
That's exactly what happened with the cabbage, and it was so
taste.
delicious. It's just full of flavor. I mean, she cooked with, and I still retain. I love my spices. But there are certain things that I just still hold on to, and you can't take it away from me. One of them, Lowry's seasoning salt.
Oh, Lowry, as in the brand.
Yes.
Yeah.
I only pull it out for some stuff, but it's that.
But if you grew up in this home where you had, your mother cooking and being, telling you how much you were loved and having dinners and having Miss Shelton and having Freddie. And what was it like to leave this? I mean, when you suddenly became 17 or 18 and went to university, and you went to Howard, didn't you?
I went to Howard.
And what was that? Had it prepared you?
All of my friends, in particular my girlfriends in college, they also like to cook.
Oh, they?
My first roommate was Cape Verdean. And there's a whole dish, and there's a huge Cape Verdean from the Cape Verdean Island.
Her name was Kate
Verdean.
No. I thought, who's Cape Verdean?
Cape Verdean. There's, the whole population of Cape Verdeans outside of Massachusetts.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and that's where she was from.
Yeah.
And so she would make this dish, and I don't remember the name of it, but with like lima beans and all that, and it was and it was delicious.
But where did you have a department?
We had a little kitchen
in the dorm.
In our dorm, and then another of my girlfriends, Gwen, who was from Detroit. She had a different version of making collard greens than I did.
So that's very American, collard greens. You know what collard greens are?
Southern. It's a big leaf green, and it's very sturdy. And then you have to cook it down. In fact, someone recently told a story. When I was campaigning in Iowa in 2019, our family decided we needed to stay in Iowa for Thanksgiving to campaign. But I was in South Carolina the day before, and I always make collard greens for Thanksgiving. There was no collard greens to be found in Iowa. So I, like a good country woman, bought bags of fresh collard greens in South Carolina and walked through the airport with
amazing.
I did not care who saw me. And when I got on the plane, some of the people on the plane who were from South Carolina nodded in approval.
This 2 votes in South Carolina.
Exactly.
So you cook collard greens. You in college. You made your own meals. You
sometimes
I
was on the meal plan. I was on the meal plan.
We haven't talked about restaurants. Were you
I
exposed
couldn't afford to eat out in restaurants in school. I mean, we did growing up. We would go from time at special occasions.
Yeah.
And it was always an adventure in terms of where we would go, right, and what kind of what we would choose.
And so working, what was that like when you were suddenly working?
Well, then, I mean, in my 20s, going out, it was, socializing. It was fun, meeting friends.
Where was that?
In San Francisco.
Yeah.
Which has an incredible food scene.
It does.
And it was the Bay Area all
what
together.
Year was that?
So
what
Oakland and San Francisco.
Okay.
So the 90s.
90s.
And incredible food scene.
Yeah.
And again, eclectic by some people's standards, right? And I mean, everything from, the best barbecue you can imagine to incredible sushi. We would go on like Sundays or Saturdays for dim sum. All of those,
And the farm to table.
And,
we have to thank Alice Walters.
Alice Waters. Her cookbook was probably early on.
Yeah.
The Art of Simple.
And we started,
my bolognese, my world famous bolognese,
it is
according to me, is a hybrid of Alice and Marcella.
Yeah.
So I do,
for
example, I do the pancetta.
Okay, this could be your recipe read.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to now hear a recipe for.
Okay.
What's the title?
Kamala Harris's world famous bolognese.
Okay, I like the low key.
Why not? If I'm going to give it a try.
Okay, so tell us how to make this.
Okay, so I start with my Dutch oven, Le Creuset.
Yeah.
Just nice, and I have had it forever.
Yeah, we love. What color is it? Orange?
I have two, actually, because when I was back and forth, one is white and one is blue.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But the oval,
Yeah.
right? Pancetta.
Yeah.
So then I do my mirepoix. So I do very small chopping of onion, of celery, of carrot there. Then I do garlic after, but
Okay.
because I don't want it to burn.
No.
Then I do a combination of beef and pork. Mm-hmm. Then I do, there's a theory about whether you should do the wine first or the milk first. Mm-hmm. I am of the school that you should do the milk first.
Okay.
So I do the milk. Then and also sage and thyme, and I have a beautiful bay leaf. Oh yeah, I do. I have an herb garden, and my bay leaf tree is just—it's just the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. I bring bay leaf to people as gifts. I just put a nice fancy ribbon on it, and then I let it reduce around the milk, and then I do pretty much a whole bottle of wine. White.
Describe the wine.
I do a white, and I usually do, not super expensive. I know you're supposed to do whatever you drink, but
and this would be for how many people?
I do often 3 times the recipe so I can freeze some of it.
Okay.
Then I do a combination of a little bit of tomato paste and San Marzano tomatoes. And then I cook it for hours and hours.
How many hours?
Usually about 5.
Okay. Are you stirring it?
Every half an hour or so.
Okay, so very low heat.
Yeah, no, it's a very low heat. Just a very light simmer until the oil starts to
the top.
And then it's just,
it's
fantastic. And then I will freeze 2/3 of it because it's such a production. Yeah. And
what pasta do you use?
I usually do like a linguine or I don't do spaghetti. I'd like a flat pasta.
Yeah, I like flat pasta.
Oh, I do penne a lot too.
Yeah, that's nice too.
Yeah.
Does Doug like this?
Well, this is the thing. So I actually talk about it in the book. So having been the first woman vice president of the United States, part of what I never talked about publicly but do kind of reveal in the book is 48 vice presidents of the United States were men. Yeah. We lived in the vice president's residence and were supported by naval enlisted aides. And if I was on a trip to come, I came to the UK to talk about the future safety of AI. I went to the Indo-Pacific many times to so on and so on. If I was out of the house, they all left to travel with me, and nobody would cook for Doug. Oh. So, as Vice President of the United States, I made a few times a big pot of bolognese to freeze containers so that my husband could eat when I was doing the business of the United States of America.
Wow. Okay, we can absorb that. Yeah, we can channel that.
So that was one of the occasions in which I would freeze bolognese.
I will tell you only one more story than that is that when we talked to Tony Blair and Alistair Campbell, we had 2 podcasts, one with Alistair. They described that if you were at Downing Street and you wanted lunch, somebody had to go down to Pret a Manger and bring back the sandwiches. And I just keep thinking.
When you see behind the.
I wonder.
This is how it looks.
Macron. I just keep holding France up as
the best. One of the best state dinners ever.
I was going to ask you.
Was there with Macron?
Of course it was.
The cheese.
Of course it was.
Oh, the cheese.
Yeah.
Was so everything. Everything was just exquisite, right? Just the detail and the beauty of it.
Yeah. No, it's true. Mark Carney told me the other day that they were on a train. If you go to Ukraine, you absolutely have to take the train.
Yeah, that's right. It's a very long ride.
He was on a trip, and so
from Poland you go.
Canadians had a car, the British had a car, the French had a car, and he said that the Canadians just brought some stuff in Poland and put it on the train. The British had nothing. And then they went into the French car and they had cheese and wine and there was a kind of incredible foie gras. And he said it was just that each train carriage was so specifically clear about the country's attitude to food.
Culture and food culture.
Yeah, so state dinners, because I was going to ask you about when you were actually vice president, the schedule I can only imagine. Would you stop for lunch? Would you have working lunches? Did it vary?
I almost always ate lunch at my desk.
Mm-hmm. What would that be?
it would be a combination of maybe like fish and vegetables or a salad or...
Was it like the West Wing? Did you do formal dinners?
We
at
did
the
formal
residence?
dinners, which I unless it was family, we
Yeah.
did. We did a lot of formal dinners. I would go down to the kitchen,
Yeah.
to the industrial kitchen, and cook with them and also share with them technique.
Really?
The first person, and I actually talk about in the book, that I hosted
Yeah.
for a meal was then Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Yeah. Would you do the menus? Would you say
Yes.
this is what we want to
I
give?
would work with my social secretary and plan the menus. Every one of them, though, pretty much, I participated in planning. State dinners were just magnificent and beautiful, and this was a beautiful aspect of the power of diplomacy, which we call soft power, and sadly, the current occupant of the White House, I think, does not appreciate the significance of that power.
Well, it goes back to a childhood thing, getting together over food, meeting over food.
Right.
This morning, meeting over
break
food.
bread.
Last
it's
night
a
when
term
you came
of
to the
art.
house and
Yes,
I
let's
put
break
something
bread.
on your plate and you said, the act of actually putting something on somebody else's plate. Try this,
It's
taste
such a
this.
beautiful...
It is an act of love.
It is an act of love. It truly is. It is a gesture of kindness. It is a gesture of caring. There's nothing like, and I told you, there is nothing like sitting at a table and someone prepares a plate for you and puts it in front of you from the kitchen that you can see. There is nothing like that.
We have to do more of that.
Yes.
We are going to.
Yes.
My last question always on these conversations is there a food that you would go for when you need comfort?
Pasta.
Pasta. Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah.
Pasta all day long. And I have in my garden a lot of beautiful basil. And sometimes I just make a big batch of pesto. But I freeze it without the cheese. Yeah. I have this thing almost like an ice tray. Mm-hmm. Each slot is a cup worth of liquid. And so I make a big batch of pesto, one cup, and then I freeze these bricks. Yeah. And then you just defrost it, and then And
then you add the cheese.
Right.
You are such a good cook.
Well, no.
You really are a good cook. I am in awe. You are. People who are good cooks because they love food, but your detail, it's like the way you are in this book. It's the way you run a campaign. It's the way you talk to my granddaughter. It's the way you come on this podcast. There's a rigor, there's a passion, but there is knowledge and generosity. So you are a great cook. So we're going to cook together.
I'm so looking forward to that. Are you kidding me? Okay. This is my dream.
Let's go do it
with you.
Thank
Yay.
you.
Ruthie's Table 4 was produced by Alex Bell and Zad Rogers, with Susanna Hislop, Andrew Sang, and Bella Cellini. This has been an Atomized production for iHeart Media.